Sorry, Jocelyn, I was in the middle of finishing my beer. What do you have for us this week?
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we have an employee who has a coworker in the workplace who, in this case, is actually coming to their office 10 to 15 times a day for at least 5 minutes to talk about themselves or complain. So this individual has tried to very clearly communicate that tried to demonstrate at least that they're not interested in what this person has to say and that it's annoying. And they even say that what this person is saying is uncomfortable to them. And as an example, um, this coworker said that they wanted to put somebody 6 feet deep. So this individual doesn't really know what to do at this point, how to handle it. And yeah, that's what we're here to talk about today.
First of all, I think I've worked with this person.
I
And
think
what's
everybody has, Matt.
yeah, no, absolutely. So, what's your take on this particular one? What advice would you give in this particular situation?
Yeah. So, general advice to the employee would be to have a more direct conversation with the individual and just say, hey, you're coming to my office too often. It is impacting my productivity, my ability to concentrate at work, etc. I can't have you coming into my office all the time. Please let's just not do this anymore. And then I think it's also appropriate for this individual to say, the things that you say to me make me feel uncomfortable. Provide some examples, and then see if this individual kind of changes their behavior. If they don't, then going to the manager or going to HR would be appropriate. I would even argue that with this person having said that they wanted to put someone 6 feet deep, that would be good cause to go to HR straight away and have them help resolve the issue. And we talked last week about, you know, employees going to HR just to kind of stir trouble and
Mm,
just talk
mm.
about gossip and, how HR really needs to push back and tell them that they need to resolve conflict on their own. But in this case, I think it would be completely appropriate for this individual to go straight to HR and have the conversation. Then on the HR side, in terms of how this would be handled, in my opinion, and I'm kind of strict um, when it comes to employee relations, if it was in fact true that this individual was talking about wanting to put coworkers 6 feet deep, I'd probably give that person a corrective action
Mm, mm,
and just let them know, hey, you cannot do this again.
mm.
And you are impacting somebody's productivity. It must stop. And then kind of take it from there.
Yeah, again, I mean, this is quite a sort of a clear cut case if these things have happened because of what that person's been saying. But I suppose it comes back to that bit where where it's not obvious, where it's not that not that clear cut.
Mhm.
What should people do? If they're not crossing the line, do you think that do you think that the people that we have the skills to be able to deal with this type of conflict in the workplace, whether that's kind of like different generations coming into the workplace to communicate differently, or remote working since the pandemic? Do you think that that has had an effect on people's ability to deal with conflict and deal with these kind of things?
I think it's much easier dealing with conflict when it's virtual.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
for some reason, it just is. So I'm not sure if we're seeing more of it or less of it. But what I can say is I think it's really important for HR to be training and developing their team on soft skills.
mm,
In this
mm,
case, demonstrating courage is kind of a core competency that somebody would exhibit if they were to approach this individual and tell them, hey, you're impacting my productivity. I can't have you doing that. Maybe you're making me uncomfortable, whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is, and I think it especially depends on personality and age, not all people are going to be comfortable doing that. And that's understandable. That's
mm.
okay. That's where a manager can step in. It doesn't necessarily have to be HR.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that soft skills thing is really interesting. Is really interesting as well. And I suppose it's kind of like, what do you think? it's an employer's responsibility to train someone on when it comes to soft skills and communication, and what should we just expect it from someone we're employing to kind of arrive with? Where does that line fit these days?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First is if you have values and core competencies in your organization, which you should, no matter the size of your company, you're able to really leverage those to help first vet candidates during the talent acquisition process to see if this is somebody that's going to be the right culture fit for your organization. But then also, as I mentioned, training and developing and upskilling individuals that are clearly aligned to the competencies and values of the organization.
And also, I think that this is something very much where managers set the tone as well, in terms of kind of showing the way in terms of communication and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's why manager training is so critical. They're kind of the first line of defense, and their ability to, I've seen quite often, companies just promoting top performers into manager roles, and they might not be equipped to handle, these types of issues, or have the soft skills that they need or the core competencies they need to be a leader. And then the company also won't train them. So they're doing them a big
Mm,
disservice. They're doing
mm.
the other employees a big disservice as well. And so it's really critical for HR to come in and provide that level of support.
Absolutely, and there was no swearing in this week's post, which is which makes a difference. Jocelyn, thank you very much for your thoughts on that.